Hello. In this small tutorial, we'll have a look on construction of waterproof roofing and some 4D tasks. Also, we'll have a look on our properties and some measurements, dimensions of our constructed elements. First, we begin with our steam barrier. For that, we just double-click the key F 2 times, and we click on these elements with a single left click. Here on the tops also. So I got here a small misclick, so I go on escape and go back to the function with double F key. So now we have a lot of surfaces. I go here on the window and look that I have the IFC type activated, so I got this small window here. Here I can see the walls and opening and other stuff like the slabs, and I can hide them. So now we just only have here our surfaces. Now we see some surfaces are too big. I can cut them with the C and D button. So you cut through these surfaces. I need to take care of when I just use the C button and cut it here. You see it deleted automatically. So I need to take care if I have the correct side. So when I point here the left side, go on C, and we see cut it there on this side. So when I would go as an example here, click C, now I have the wrong side cut it. So I go back and do it on the right side. So now we have the surfaces. I can take them, and with the D button I got just once overall. Now I want to add here also some surface, but on this side I go with a line, the L button or the L key, activated line, and here I can make an extrusion out of this line. So I get here a div and make it 30 centimeters, and we got also this element. I can activate above, use the D key, and we got it. I can hide this element with the U button. Now we just have the line and I delete it. When I hide some elements, I can go back to all visible with these buttons here on the toolbar, or the keys for that. You always see the key in green, so you see what button you can use. So with U, I hide the active element. With J, I go back with all elements. With I isolate it. So I can do this also with other elements or more elements. So I go back here on all, and when I take here some different elements, activate them with shift and left click. With I isolate it. With J, all elements come back, or with U, I hide them. So we go back just to our surface, and now I have here the IFC type. For our example, we just use here the IFC type covering. So in this file, I already got here by the component. When I go in the drop-down menu, I got already here some different elements. This is because I already was here in the component manager and have here some components. You see we already have here different components, but not all of them are in use. You see here, like opening, we have 10 of them, but there are like columns and beams that are just not in this file, but there is yeah, you can add them like with a right click and say I would have a new beam as an example with this color, and so you can give them a name and material and go on. So for our coverings, we got here already like drainage layer, steam barrier, and so on with a material. So I already have some informations. So for this example, we go here and say this is our steam barrier. So we see we already get the material. This is here under dialog material. I can add some materials, give them a name, can add a texture when I want, or transparency, and here the weight also. So for our next element, we want to add an insulation panel. I use here the same button, the double click F and right click, and now we have here our surface, and I make here an extrusion, say like 10 centimeters, and we got it. Here we go back to IFC type, say this is the covering, and we say this is our insulation panels. So for the next one, we have some slope elements, and I can't just add a slope element over an extrusion because it's on an angle. So I go here on the top, you can add some different views, and I go here on this and close the right one. So we have here these two views. I got a 3D view, and here I can switch it on the upper right corner. We have here the 3D top view, and as an example I can go here and say I want to have a cross section. So we say here from this corner, take the inside to this corner. Now we see we have a cross section through this elements. What I add is now some auxiliary lines. Here we have this one, and here I can add a value like 10 centimeters, and you see I get now a second line and add them 2 times. And I can add also a midpoint. Here you see you can push the M button also, and we add here this helping point. Now I add a surface with F and start it here on the insulation panel on the top. Go to the first auxiliary line, go to the mid side, and then go back here to this side. And now with a right click, the surface is closed. So now we see we have here this element with we isolate it quick, and this looks good. Now we go back to our 3D view and make an extrusion out of that. You see, I don't know the extrusion, the length, so I go here on the measure and say a distance 2 points. And I say I want to measure that point, that one. Now we have here this value, and I go here to the extrusion and say I want this value. And we see we got our next element. But the problem is, or the good thing is that we have now our angle for the slope, but we don't have the holes. So we make quick a surface here, make extrusion out of it, 2 meters, copy that to the other holes, they are all the same, and move it with the key 5, and then with Z we can move it vertically. So we go just here a little bit, or we can also add a value, like I can just a number on the keyboard, or the minus symbol, so say -1 meter, or go OK, and then we got it. As we do the same here, click the surface with F, so 2 meters, and go a little bit. So, and now with J we got here our slope element back, and now we activate all of our elements to cut, and then we use here this cut function on the toolbar and cut it here. The active elements we can delete, and now we see we got our slope element with our angles and the holes in it. Perfect. Now we go to the next roofing membranes, or first we do here the covering, and we say here we got the slope elements. So next, with double F, still the same game, we see we got here these two elements, and they also have this angle. Now what we need to do is we have now a roofing membranes, we have a drainage layer, we have a plant substrate and a greening, so 4 coming layers, and that I don't need to always do the extrusion and then go back and make the FF function again. I just copied that. I know my next element is 1 centimeter up, the next again, so we have these elements. As an example, I already can extrude one of them, take them both, go on extrusion, and now we see we make the deep 1 centimeter, and here we go vertical. So when we do that on the corners here, you see we have here a straight, nice vertical extrusion. So we can hide this element or take them both with the D button. We got one element. Here we do the same, vertical 1 centimeter. Take them D and hide it with U. Now we have here the plant substrate that is 10 or 15 centimeters for our example. So we take them, make here the 15 and take them D and hide it with U, and here our last element, that's a greening with 5 centimeters example. So vertical, perfect. Now with J we got all our elements, hide the steam barrier, so we have now our layers. So we do always the same, activate all, go here to the IFC type, coverings, and then we have our greening, we have our plant substrate, and here we have our drainage layer, and the last one is our roofing membranes. So we got our roofing, our different layers, our different elements, and now we can use them for different other tools. First we save it quick with Ctrl S, and then we go to the next tool. We go back first to the dialog. We see here our materials, see in our component manager where we can, as an example, click here on show only used components. So you see we just get these elements that we are using, and now we have a tool that is here, the LME tool, where we can add some informations. We see we already have here some values in it. So when I go here as an example to our slope element, I can open it here with this plus symbol, and I got here some information like volume, surface, weight. We can, as an example, do that by the greening from 0. So you see in the greening we don't have any information, and do a right click and say I add something, a property. I want to add 3 properties, so we have 3 properties, and I say I want to have the information of the surface of it, the volume, and the weight. Here we have an information value. We can just put in it a word or something as information. For our example, that is not that important. And now we have here this LU information. We have here the button LU, and now you see here a lot of different measurements what you can have from elements. So like when we want to have the volume, we can have here the number 2. So it's the netto volume. And I go here to LU and put in here the number 2, and you see we got the cubic meters. We got the detail information, not that important, and here we got the quantity. So we have here cubic meters. As an example, we can go to select. So we have this element activated. Maybe with I we just isolate it. And we see the same information here right on the lower side, 9 cubic meters. So we have here the same value. When I got here different of these elements, like when I copy that element, so we have 3 of that, you see we got here 3 elements, and here the quantity of all of them. So the system gives us some dimensions automatically. Now I do the same here for the surface. We have here as an example the number 204. Yes, here 204, it's the top view, so 204. We have here the square meters of it, and as a third information, the weight, we go just here to unit on the T, so we got the weight, because we have here the information in the material, how many tons is 1 cubic meter, and he calculates this for us. Now for the surface, as an example, we have here this measurement where you can activate this and now you get here an information from what information you get this dimension, and you see this is a top surface. So we remember this is our slope, so we have here an angle, but he just take the top of it. So I can go back to our overview, and then we see here as an example the number 403, and when I change that to 403, you see I get a little different quantity, and when we click here again, now you see which surface he got. So it's a little bit different. He now don't take just the top of it, it also take the surface in the angle. So you have here a control system for what you get. So now we can go back to all other elements, and we can add also these informations. So like here we do the same. I just give it a quick value inside that we can have here these informations. We already have here the volume, perfect, surface, that also is good. So we have all these informations of our dimensions. What we can do next is we have the 4D tasks. This window is a little bit like MS Project. We can add it maybe here on our scene lower side. Perfect. You can add here or import an MS Project in a file, or just go and say we have a task, and our task is, as an example, the steam barrier. We have a start date, and we know we need 5 days for our steam barrier. So this task, this element, I can now give the task number here in it. So we can jump back to our start. Now we see no elements are visible, and now he jumps through the days, these 5 days, and at our steam barrier. So we can go on, take our next element, like the insulation panels. So we add here a new task, say insulation panels, and we can start that. Maybe we need 3 days, and now I can get here a start date, or there are some formulas. So as an example, I go here task 1. You see we have examples also here, and say the number 1 task, the finish F, is the start of this task, plus we say 2 days. So now you see our start is 2 days after we finished the other one. So when I change here the duration, like, oh, we got that in 4 days, you see it automatically add this information. So I take here the installation form, task number 2, and you see all of the other ones are this task number -1, so they are always invisible. We can go maybe back to our other elements and say, yeah, cool, we just say activate with Ctrl+AC. We all get the same elements with the same color, and we say task number 0. So when we go here at the start, 0 is always visible. So that's already built for our example. Then we can go on the start, and now he starts with the steps. So we see first are this steam barrier element, and then next are the insulation panels. Sure, we can cut our steam barrier in different elements, different surfaces, and can have much more tasks. So you see, okay, on the first day we get this tool, next day this, and so on. Another interesting system is that we can combine this with our LME information. We have here the duration button, and here we have here when we go back with the J button, so all elements are visible, we can here say our greening as an example. Here we have how many hours for that element we need. So we have or not for the element, more for the information here, like the surface. So you know you need like 2 hours for 1 square meter as an example. It's a really slow worker in this example. So maybe I would need 2 hours for that for 1 square meters. And I just work 4 hours a day. And you see already how many days I need that. So here is the number of labor. So maybe I ask my colleagues, and we are 2 persons or 3 persons. So you see the durations would go much smaller. So now we can add this in our LME window. We have here this LME button in our 4D task window, and I can update that. And we got here now our greening. We need to add the task first. Say here this is our greening, and here our greening. We need the number, task number 3, and then we can update it. So we have here now the duration. We can here at a start date, like as an example 2fs plus 1 day. So we start 1 day later as the other one. You see he deleted the duration of the other elements. So this is here this update button. I need to go with one system or the other. So maybe I go with the duration here and take it manually, or I use the LME system and say there the duration. And now we see my tasks. Here we say 1 day. So and now we got here the duration 31 days, and he added this automatically because we got here the LME 31 days. So after the tasks, we will have a look on other function. Those are the properties. Properties are information about different elements. What we can add is also used in our BIM projects when we have IFC export. So we can add some information properties to elements, and every one that use our IFC file can use it. We can go on dialog, properties, and with right click we add these properties. We have here our example 1, and Here you can use which type you have, and another important function is this LOT. When you go on LOT, you can add some values like 1, 2, 3. You see with every row is one value. Now we add a second example, example 2, and here I doesn't activate the LOT, so you see I can add some values. And now I go on property set and say I want to add a property set, maybe a property set for our slope elements. And here I can add now these properties like our example 1 or our example 2. And when we go here on the next one, you see there are also red ones like the volume, or here when we go lower, we see here all the numbers from our LMA tool. So the 204 was our square meters, so I can also add this information. These red ones are always informations from like material from lexocad, so we don't need to add some informations by ourselves. Now we go to the component manager and go to our slope elements, and here we need to go to the right side, and here you see these presets, and I activate the preset slope element. And now we just need our slope elements, so hide all these elements, and now we have our slope element. And here you see we have here this top-down menu slope elements, and we have here example 1, example 2, and also the information of our volume and square meters and material. And now I can click here inside, and we have here our rows from example 1, like number 1, 2, 3, and I can add a value, and here we don't have this drop-down menu, so I can just add a name. So we have this property information. So as remember, we was in properties, add some single properties, go to a property set and add a group of properties to this name. So I does need to add a lot of properties for like a set insulation panel. For the insulation panel, a property set for seam barrier. I also can say, oh, okay, I have the same properties by the insulation panel, so I can take here the same property set. Maybe change the name so that I have a name like properties for insulation or properties for roofing. So you have everywhere the same properties. But when I have some special properties which I want only have in that component, I use another property set. The last step what we're looking now is our BIMteam export. BIMteam is our tool where we can export that to an online platform. Here we have under export BIMteam, and we go to the website BIMteam.cadwork.ch, and now we go quick back to lexocad, and here we have some information that we can set. We can activate the left panel. You see then we have different levels for a layer structure kind of. We can activate a toolbar with different tools. So I activate all of them. We can here add the custom logo and set the current view. With our older platform, alpha platform of BIMteam or beta platform from the BIMteam, we can upload the modules directly. In future, we can do this to our new BIMteam platform also. But for the moment, I export it as a BTE file, and we already get that file. When I have a look here in my folder, I got this BTE file, and I can go to the BIMteam website. I can add here a project. I already get here one project. And we already get here an old file. I delete this quick. With a right click I can also add some folders, here roofing example, and go to this folder and take it with drag and drop to this platform. Here on this platform we are on an online platform where I can add some different team members for some projects from my organization, and can share different files, also some IFC formats or just some different files. And now I can go out to the construction site and open this file with my tablet or computer or a smartphone, because we are always online on a browser, so we can use different systems. With a double click we can open the file. With right click we have different other functions, also we can create a link and send a direct link to someone who doesn't are on our platform, so he can just have a view on the model. Now we see we are still in our website on our browser, and we can have a look on our model, so we don't need to download any software. And you see we got here our different layers, and I can can activate these different elements. We have here as an example our properties. So the properties that I define here in lexocad we have now here on our web platform. So I have this information out on the construction site. I can go and say I want isolate some element or show all elements, so like the buttons what we have in lexocad. And we have different functions for a view, so I can use a measurement tool and measure here some informations, or we can connect a robotic total station. So you have a total station in your file, and you can later, when you connect it, activate some points, and your total station on the construction site show you the laser and point to the point where you click on the model. So you have here really helpful tools. Yes, that was our tutorial for an example for roofing. Thank you, have a nice day.